You ever feel like your life is just a bad reality TV show? One where you're the unsuspecting contestant and the producers are actively trying to make you look like a fool? Yeah, well, for me, that feeling became a little too literal. One minute, I was just your average, everyday American girl, probably complaining about my Wi-Fi, and the next, boom, I was Alice Thorne, thrust headfirst into the most ridiculous, melodramatic, and utterly unfair storyline you could ever imagine. It was a classic real heiress, fake heiress trope, a tale as old as, well, as old as cheesy romance novels, apparently. My new sister, let's call her Brittany Bellwether, was the reigning queen of this particular nightmare. She had a secret weapon, a little something she called her charming chameleon system. Think of it as a personalized cheat code for emotional manipulation, making her appear sweet, innocent, and perpetually wronged. Every tear, every shaky breath, every carefully crafted sigh was designed to make me, Alice, look like the villain. And in the original script of this twisted tale, it worked like a charm. Buckle up, folks. This is the story of how I rewrote my destiny, one ridiculous scene at a time. And trust me, you won't believe what happens next. The first act of this grand theatrical production was always the same, the fateful fall. In the original script, Brittany, with her perfectly practiced damsel in distress routine, would trip down the grand staircase, just as our mother, Eleanor, walked in. Then, with eyes brimming with fake tears, she'd accuse me of pushing her. Classic, right? And Mom, bless her easily manipulated heart, would fall for it every time. My character, the real heiress, would be exiled to the dusty storage room, labeled a heartless monster. But not today, Brittany, not today. I watched her, a tiny, almost imperceptible smirk playing on my lips. In the original script, she'd tumble into Mom's arms. A little too cliché for my taste. So, with a quick mental edit, I changed arms to derriere. What followed was glorious. Brittany, instead of landing delicately, suddenly folded in on herself like a human pretzel, vanishing beneath Mom's voluminous gown. You could practically hear the collective gasp of disbelief from the invisible audience. I had to cover my mouth to stifle my laughter. How scandalous! Brittany, are you quite all right? You truly need to see a therapist. My luck is truly as dark as a coal mine, to be dropped into this real heiress, fake heiress drama and be saddled with a story editing system. If I want to return to my own world, I'm stuck trying to fix this poor protagonist's tragic ending, I said, feigning outrage. In the original storyline, once the real parents found their long-lost daughter, they still inexplicably favor the imposter. Brittany's nauseatingly saccharine manipulations would eventually lead the protagonist to a mental institution, and then, almost fatally, to poison. It made no sense. Why would parents, after searching so desperately for their child, treat her with such disregard? Why wouldn't they make up for lost time? I'm telling you, in all these real heiress, fake heiress stories, the parents are usually the real villains. Utterly clueless. Just then, my system chimed in. Apparently, in this version of the story, Brittany's charming chameleon system was on overdrive, making her a master of eliciting sympathy from everyone. No problem, a small hiccup. Let's see how my reality rewrite system crushes your pitiful chameleon system, Brittany. Just as I was pondering my next move, Brittany gave me that look. You know, the I'm a delicate little flower about to prove you're a brute look. And then, right on cue, she tripped again, letting out a perfectly timed, heart-wrenching shriek as she began to fall. Mom naturally rushed to the stairs. Brittany immediately started welling up, her eyes getting red, ready to deploy her classic pity me maneuver. The script dictated she'd blame me, crying, "Sister, why did you push me?" And I, the poor, naive protagonist, would stumble over my words, frantically trying to explain I did nothing. Mom would, of course, refuse to believe me and sentence me to the dusty storage room again. But me, I just shrugged, looked Mom straight in the eye, and with a feigned quiver in my voice said, "Mom, this has absolutely nothing to do with me." You won't believe this, but Mom was truly under the chameleon spell. The moment she saw Brittany's pitiful expression, she immediately turned her wrath on me. "Alice, how could you? Brittany fell and you just stood there? You didn't help her up?" Eleanor asked, clearly annoyed. Unbelievable. A biased mother who doesn't care about right or wrong, completely unable to distinguish between good and bad, the quintessential mother figure from every single one of those real heiress, fake heiress novels I've ever read. In the original script, after her fall, Brittany would activate her chameleon system, weakly smooth her disheveled hair, bite back tears, and bravely try to stand up, leaning on the wall. She'd then sob, "Mom, sister didn't mean to push me. It was just my own clumsiness." I, however, had a different vision. I casually changed "try to stand up" to "do a handstand." "Mom, sister didn't mean to push me. It was just my own clumsiness," Brittany mumbled, upside down. Brittany looked like she was possessed. She shot up with incredible speed, inverted herself, and performed a perfect handstand right there on the stairs. She even managed to brush her hair with one hand while holding the pose. And then she delivered her lines upside down, completely baffled by her own actions. Mom just stood there, jaw practically on the floor, staring at the bizarre spectacle, completely forgetting her daughter's supposed plight. I clapped my hands, practically beaming. "Mom, our Brittany is so talented. She certainly doesn't need my help to get up. If she's not in the Olympics for gymnastics this year, I'm not watching," I said enthusiastically. The most embarrassing part? She was wearing a dress. When she went upside down, that dress fell right over her head, exposing everything. Brittany's face turned beet red. Her hand, supporting her weight, suddenly cramped, and she lost her balance, toppling directly onto Mom. Ugh! It was a truly earth-shattering collision. They bonked heads, landing in a pile that was both hilarious and pitiful. Mom was underneath, probably convinced she'd broken something, but before she could even scream, Dad walked in. He froze, looking like he'd just witnessed something deeply unethical. Without a word, he immediately pulled them apart, yelling, "What are you two doing? Have you no shame?" Even though Brittany totally lost that round, I knew she wouldn't give up easily, especially since I was still seen as the orphan from the group home who had just been welcomed back. Dad, convinced I lacked social experience, enrolled me in an equestrian school. Of course, Brittany wasn't going to miss that golden opportunity. The equestrian school, Brittany's next stage. She approached me, her voice dripping with sarcasm, like pouring syrup into my ears. "Sister, I trust you won't prove completely useless, will you? After all, thanks to that ancient mistake, I took everything that was originally yours. Are you really trying to trample all over me now? Do you think I'm that easy to bully?" Brittany asked condescendingly. Oh, she wanted to put on a show for Mom and Dad. Fine, I'd give her a performance she'd never forget. The script dictated she would effortlessly mount the horse, displaying her superb riding skills, earning applause from Mom and Dad, and making me feel utterly insecure. She'd smugly declare,
Horse riding, so simple. Even a toddler could learn. I just chuckled to myself. The original script described her tightening her legs, gracefully leaping onto the horse, and riding off like the wind. My edit? I changed ride to piggyback. So, Brittany tightened her legs, gracefully sprang into the air, folded her body, bent her knees, and then she just lifted the horse's 2 front legs onto her neck, using her hands to support the horse's backside. She then proceeded to piggyback the horse, sprinting around the arena like the wind. It was a sight that insulted civilization itself.
The riding instructor was dumbfounded. The horse was dumbfounded. Dad, standing nearby, looked as stunned as a statue. I turned to him, dead serious. "Perhaps she has a dream of joining the circus, Dad," I suggested, straight-faced. Brittany finished her lap, utterly spent, her legs shaking like a leaf. Dad was so embarrassed he just walked away, not even glancing back. I looked at her, covered in hay, horse slobber in her hair, and I just burst out laughing. Honestly, she could have played a refugee in a movie without any makeup. Then she noticed someone from the media was there, and her mask completely dropped, revealing her true colors. The updated script recorded that Brittany, enraged, would lift her leg and kick me, snarling, "You're just an orphan from a group home, and you dare laugh at me? If you can't walk, let me help you with one leg." My edit? I changed lift her leg and kicked to crawl on the ground. "You're just an orphan from a group home, and you dare laugh at me? Why have I become like this?" Brittany shrieked, crawling. "System, are you broken? Why am I carrying a horse? What? You don't know either? What good are you then? Go check yourself now!" Brittany yelled, panicked. She screamed, looking utterly bewildered, as if she was about to register herself into a mental hospital. "Go check yourself, you useless thing!" she shrieked. "Check all you want, Brittany. You can't do anything to me. My system is just better." Brittany was utterly humiliated, and she was determined to regain her honor at my expense. She invited me to a tea party with her friends, ostensibly to help me integrate. In reality, it was a trap. I stood outside the door, listening to them shriek and plot their wicked schemes. "Don't worry, Britt, we've got your back," one friend said. "You were the beloved one for over a decade, not her. How could she take your place?" another added. "That girl is useless. How dare she dream of stealing affection from others?" a third scoffed. "We sisters need to teach her her place," a fourth declared. Good grief. Wealthy, esteemed young ladies gathering like kindergartners plotting mischief. No shame at all? I stepped into the opulent hall. All eyes turned to me, filled with disdain and scrutiny. In the original script, the protagonist would try to blend in, meticulously dressed and made up, only for Brittany's friends to throw an entire teapot of tea on her, leaving her utterly humiliated. Then Brittany would activate her Chameleon System, gently bite her lower lip, eyes cast down pitifully, approach me and softly say, "Sister, the mistake wasn't your fault. Everyone, please don't bully her anymore." Her sisters would immediately hail her, "You're so incredibly kind," and then turn to me with mocking remarks. I, however, changed walked to rolled to. "The mistake wasn't your fault. Everyone, please don't bully her anymore," Brittany mumbled, sprawled on the floor. Her friends were dumbfounded. Some had their eyes bugging out. What on earth is she doing? They seemed to think. They were supposed to be dignified young ladies. Witnessing Brittany cosplay a rolling wheel, her friends looked like they were dying of embarrassment themselves. Even the little kids in their houses didn't roll around on the floor like that. And here was Brittany making a complete spectacle of herself in front of everyone. Her friends just shook their heads in dismay. "Brittany Bellwether, are you out of your mind? If you have something to say, stand up and say it. This is so humiliating," Sarah shouted, visibly angry.
With that, she reached out to pull Brittany up. The script wrote, a girl came to pull Brittany up. I changed pull to have diarrhea. The moment I confirmed it, a chill ran down my spine. I really was the ultimate villainess, wasn't I? And what happened next? Well, what happened next was inevitable. "Ah, get away! Get out of here!" Brittany shrieked. "Don't come near me! I didn't mean for this to happen," Sarah cried, sobbing. "Where's security? Security! Get these two out of here! I'm going to throw up!" the waiter yelled, disgusted. The most horrifying scene I'd ever witnessed sent the entire restaurant into an uproar. As I walked out, I could hear the reception whispering, "Well, our restaurant just had another legendary drama." Brittany fled to a hotel, immediately renting a room to shower. If it weren't for her chameleon system, the hotel manager probably would have thrown her out. As she scrubbed, she screamed at her system, "You trash! Can't find the bug? How much more humiliation do I have to endure? If there's a bug, fix it, you useless piece of junk!" Meanwhile, I was at home, watching the entire spectacle live streamed, laughing my head off. When Brittany finally came home, she unloaded all her pent-up fury on me. She'd used 2 whole bottles of shower gel and shampoo, but she still smelled faintly of something unpleasant. Mom, seeing her disheveled state, frowned and asked, "What happened?" I was about to recount the entire cinematic drama, but Brittany, always one to play the victim, cut me off. "Mom, please don't blame Sister. She had no other choice. It's all my fault. I stole Sister's life," Brittany said, feigning sorrow. I opened the new script. It said Brittany would activate her chameleon system, look at Mom with innocent eyes, take her hand and bid farewell, expressing her desire to withdraw so I could be happy. Mom would then stroke her head and gently say, "My dearest Brittany is a good girl, my precious baby," a warm little blanket wrapped around my heart. As for that other girl, now that she's the heiress, she better not bully you. I looked at this ridiculously sappy scene and decided to change "take her hand" to "suck her hand." So, Brittany activated her chameleon system, her eyes brimming with tears, looking like a killer who would still get sympathy in court. Then she abruptly bent down, shoved all 10 of Mom's fingers into her mouth, and slurped loudly, as if she were eating a bowl of beef noodle soup. Even I, the editor, was stunned. I never thought her small mouth could hold so much. Mom's hand was quite large, yet Brittany managed to cram almost all of it down her throat. It looked like a bottomless cavern. "Mom, if I bother Sister, I'm ready to withdraw," Brittany mumbled, with Mom's fingers in her mouth.
The problem was, Mom had just been fertilizing the plants, and her hands were still covered in a bit of organic fertilizer. The smell was indescribable. I was standing next to them, practically gagging. Both of their expressions were exactly like someone constipated. Marza, our maid, walked by, froze, and even dropped her bottle of fish sauce. She pulled me aside, whispering, "Miss Alice, what kind of ritual is this? A live sacrifice?" I looked straight at the mother and daughter and, dead serious, declared, "These two are destined by fate, a loving mother and a filial daughter, just exchanging affection," I stated seriously. "Brittany, what are you doing? That's disgusting. Let go now," Eleanor shrieked, struggling. Mom shrieked and struggled frantically. Finally, with a mighty effort, Brittany released her hand. Mom pulled her hand back as if escaping a bomb crater. I doubt she'd be able to deliver her lines now. Brittany, meanwhile, began to vomit violently. I clapped my hand over my nose and jumped back a few more steps. Just don't puke on us, that's all I asked. Even though Mom couldn't comprehend what her daughter had just done, the script had to go on. Original content,
Mom reaches out, strokes Brittany's cheek, pats her head, and gently says, "Don't talk nonsense. My Brittany is a good girl, my precious baby, a warm little blanket glued to my heart. I love you the most." I simply changed hand to foot. "Mom, no, please." Brittany mumbled, horrified. "Don't talk nonsense. My Brittany is a good girl, my precious baby, a warm blanket of my heart. I love you the most, darling," Eleanor said serenely with her foot on Brittany's face. My jaw and Martha's dropped. Mom was nearly 50, yet she could still deliver a kick as high as a ballet dancer. So flexible, so cool. Old Spice indeed. Brittany was notoriously clean and hated anyone touching her face. When Mom's foot pressed against her, she thrashed like a beached fish, accidentally pushing Mom backward. Mom hit her head on the floor, bleeding profusely, and passed out cold. Martha panicked and called for an ambulance. At the hospital, Dad immediately demanded to know what happened. Brittany turned to me. The script recorded her looking at Dad with weak, innocent eyes, holding his hand and saying, "Dad, if it weren't for Sister, Mom wouldn't be like this." That line in the original led to the protagonist being locked in the basement for a month, eating spoiled food until she got acute appendicitis. I wasn't about to take that rap, so I changed holding to licking. "Dad, if it weren't for Sister, Mom wouldn't be like this," Brittany cried, licking. "What are you doing? Speak properly," Richard exclaimed, horrified. But no, Brittany clung to his hand like superglue. Wherever Dad's hand went, her tongue followed. Dad was in shock. The daughter he'd cherished like a delicate flower was now a hand-licking dog. His wife was in emergency surgery, and Brittany had transformed into the licking goddess. He was so furious he almost went insane. The script wrote, "Dad gritted his teeth, raised his hand, and slapped her once to stop the charade." I changed 1 to 10. As a result, Dad, in a fit of pure fury, slapped Brittany 10 times across the face while she continued to lick his hand relentlessly. Slapping and licking, licking and slapping, all happening simultaneously, like a deranged ballet. Martha, for the nth time, couldn't believe her eyes. I stood there, looking at Brittany's face, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. For a second, I wondered if she was actually enjoying it. Just as that artistic body performance ended, Mom woke up. Martha, being straightforward and unable to lie, immediately recounted the entire incident of Brittany pushing Mom to Dad. Dad's face darkened. Brittany, with the red marks of the slaps still on her face, tried desperately to appear weak and pitiful, hoping to gain Dad's sympathy and escape punishment. Brittany, face plant with the red marks, tried desperately to appear weak and pitiful, hoping to gain Dad's sympathy and escape punishment. "Dad, if it weren't for Sister, Mom wouldn't be like this," Brittany cried, licking. "What are you doing? Speak properly," Richard exclaimed, horrified. But no, Brittany clung to his hand like silverglue. Wherever Dad's hand went, her tongue followed.
Dad was in shock. The daughter he cherished like a delicate flower was now a hand-licking dog. His wife was in emergency surgery, and Brittany had transformed into the licking goddess. He was so furious he almost went insane. The script wrote, "Dad gritted his teeth, raised his hand, and slapped her once to stop the charade." I changed 1 to 10. As a result, Dad, in a fit of pure fury, slapped Brittany 10 times across the face while she continued to lick his hand relentlessly. Slapping and licking, licking and slapping, all happening simultaneously like a deranged ballet. Martha, for the nth time, couldn't believe her eyes. I stood there, looking at Brittany's face, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. For a second, I wondered if she was actually enjoying it.
Just as that artistic body performance ended, Mom woke up. Martha, being straightforward and unable to lie, immediately recounted the entire incident of Brittany pushing Mom to Dad. Dad's face darkened. Brittany, with the red marks of the slap still on her face, tried desperately to appear weak and pitiful, hoping to gain Dad's sympathy and escape punishment. She ran to Mom's bedside, beginning her green tea filial piety act. The original script said Brittany's face would be pale as paper, tears streaming as she weakly leaned into Mom's embrace, saying with a touching voice, "Even though Brittany isn't well, just being by your side, overcoming this with you is enough for me, Mom." Mom would then turn to me and scold me, "You haven't shed a single tear. From now on, you will kneel in this hospital until your mother is discharged. Understand?" I changed, leaned into her embrace, to jumped up and down. "Even though Brittany isn't well, just being by your side, overcoming this with you is enough for me, Mom," Brittany said mid-air. "Doctor, help! She's killing her!" Richard yelled, his face pale. Mom couldn't withstand that impact. She spat out a mouthful of blood and passed out on the spot. And Brittany? She wasn't even done with her act yet. Dad's face went white. He screamed, "Doctor, help! She's killing her!" He was so enraged that he immediately chased Brittany out of the hospital, forbidding her from even setting foot near Mom, and sent her home under house arrest to reflect. Even Martha was reassigned. Brittany, with no audience, no stage for her green tea act, was so bored she started arguing with her own system. But it wasn't over yet. Brittany still had a trump card, the true male lead of this story, Mr. Ethan Carter, a CEO of the prominent Carter Corporation. He had the calm demeanor of freshly fallen snow and was the dream of thousands of young women. He was also the man Brittany longed for day and night. But in Ethan's eyes, Brittany was just the girl next door. After the Carter family learned I was the true heir, they sent Ethan to discuss a marriage alliance. I have to admit, Ethan was handsome. I almost considered going against my own instincts and becoming his wife. But no, I was a heroine focused on my career, a fierce, independent woman. I would not be swayed by a man.
In the original, Brittany, fearing Ethan would fall for me and I'd steal her fiancé title, played a dirty trick during dinner. She'd make me accidentally eat seafood, causing me to break out in a rash, humiliating me so the Carter family would think I was defective and unworthy of the alliance. And this time, she was pulling the same old stunt, asking the chef to bring out a special seafood sauce. The original script, Brittany gracefully pours the sauce into the soup, stirs it gently, and then sweetly says, "This is the head chef's special sauce. It goes wonderfully with cream soup. Sister, I'm sure you've never had it before. It's delicious." I let out a cold chuckle. No way. I changed poured the sauce into the soup to dunked her head into the soup. The moment Brittany went to stir the soup, her body stiffened like a system error. The spoon clattered onto the table. She tried to call for her system's help, but the words caught in her throat. In front of Ethan Carter and everyone else, Brittany's neck suddenly folded like a drowned swan, and she plunged her head straight into the soup bowl, thrashing her head around like a catfish looking for a hole, stirring and stirring, creating countless bubbles. Sauce splattered all over the table. Ethan just stood there, speechless. The entire dining room was speechless. And I was sitting there, laughing like I was watching a live comedy show. Special sauce from the head chef. Delicious with cream soup. Sister, you've never tasted it. So good, Brittany mumbled from within the soup. Ethan froze, his eyes showing a vague sense of doubt.
What Dad had feared was finally happening. He was starting to suspect Brittany had mental problems. He was about to try and gather his thoughts to explain Brittany's unstable mental state to Ethan, but Ethan, after a moment of contemplation, spoke. Brittany has always been a sensible person. For her to do something like this, she must have been forced by someone, Ethan concluded. Dad immediately shot me a look full of implied meaning. Don't think I don't know you set her up. Ethan then activated his self-obsessed mode, glaring at me, beginning his lecture. If you, Miss Thorne, still wish to maintain this marriage alliance, you had best not use such despicable tactics to suppress my future wife. The Carter family will not accept a petty, jealous daughter-in-law, Ethan lectured. I just looked at him, utterly bewildered. Excuse me, sir? Did you even hear what you just said? Did I ever say I wanted to marry you? Hearing his absurd logic, I just wanted to say, "You're so full of yourself, Mr. Carter." The original script, Ethan gently takes out a handkerchief and tenderly wipes Brittany's face. Don't be afraid, Brittany. You are a daughter of the Bellwether family. No one can steal your position. I changed takes out a handkerchief to takes out a sock.
Before Dad could even react, Ethan suddenly ducked under the table, lifted his pant leg, and removed a shiny black lace sock, revealing a pair of legs as hairy as a wild meadow. My eyes! A CEO with hairy legs wearing black lace socks? Brittany, by this point, had just risen from the soup, her hair disheveled, covered in vegetables and soup water, looking like she'd just climbed out of a dumpster. Ethan held that sock and meticulously wiped Brittany's face, bit by bit, not missing a single spot, from the corner of her nose to the corner of her mouth, even her nostrils, and his mouth was still saying softly, "Don't be afraid, Brittany. You are a daughter of the Bellwether family. No one can steal your position," Ethan said, wiping Brittany's face with a sock. Brittany's face was rigid with horror. She screamed for help and thrashed, but Ethan continued wiping her face for another 5 minutes. The restaurant staff looked at them with an indescribable expression, as if they were watching a horror show. I turned to Dad and whispered, "Mr. Carter really loves my sister, Dad. They're a match made in heaven. Don't separate these lovebirds." The moment my system released control, Brittany, as if struck by a psychological blow, collapsed and passed out. Dad called a private doctor to carry her home. Ethan snapped back to reality, immediately tossing the black sock into a trash can, glancing around frantically to see if anyone had filmed it. If this got out, his aloof, noble reputation would be nothing but a legend. When his eyes met mine, I returned his gaze with a knowing look. If you still want this marriage alliance, you'd better pull your socks up properly. Did you think showing off your hairy legs was seductive? The Thorne family doesn't accept sons-in-law who try to seduce others by showing off their legs, you know. He immediately blushed, unconsciously pulling his leg back. The marriage discussion was temporarily suspended. Brittany, however, genuinely got sick. This time, it was a fungal infection on her skin, blisters, pus, and swelling all over her face. In less than 2 days, her face looked like it had been hit by a bacterial bomb. Who said CEOs don't have foot odor? Brittany was utterly broken. With a face like that, her image was truly shattered. Fearing the world would see her fungus-infested face, Brittany didn't dare leave the house, only hiding inside, playing the role of the unfortunate heroine. She activated her Chameleon System to gain Dad's sympathy, and, while she was at it, started bullying Martha, the maid who always stood by my side. She complained that Martha's cooking wasn't good, that her cleaning wasn't thorough enough, intending to drive her out of the Thorne family home. Since she couldn't directly hurt me, Brittany started targeting those close to me. Anyone I cherished, she wouldn't let go. If she could steal them, she would. If not, she'd destroy them. The original script said Brittany would fabricate a story about losing a silver necklace,
falsely accusing Martha of stealing it. As a result, Martha would be fired and then get into a car accident. I'd be so distraught I'd need sleeping pills every night. Brittany would then seize the opportunity to forge fake medical records, claiming I was mentally unstable and have doctors give me daily injections, one of the reasons for the protagonist's tragic death in the original storyline. I absolutely would not let Martha repeat that same tragic fate. Today, just as in the original script, Brittany pulled her trick again. "Sister, my silver necklace in the drawer is gone. Only Martha ever enters my room. I want to search her room. You won't stop me, will you?" Brittany asked with a sly look. Her feet were already at Martha's door before she even finished asking permission. The original script, Brittany enters Martha's room, searches through it, and pulls out a silver necklace from under the bed, using it as incriminating evidence. I quietly changed silver necklace to dog chain. "No way! I don't own this dog chain," Martha exclaimed, bewildered. Brittany started to argue. "Only Martha came into my room, so she must have taken it." Despite finding no other evidence, she still ransacked Martha's room like it was her personal storage unit. Mom, for the first time, looked suspicious of the daughter she had raised. She found the false accusation utterly ridiculous. She gave Martha 2 days leave for rest and recuperation before turning on her heel and walking away, not even bothering to look at Brittany. Even the person who loved her most was starting to get annoyed. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, a half smile on my face. Brittany immediately shifted her focus, glaring. "It's you! You did this!" I remained calm, my dismissive attitude driving her crazy. "Huh, just you wait, you won't be laughing for long," she snarled. She walked closer to me, pulling out her old, tired self-harm to frame others' trick. She slapped herself, loud and hard. I thought she was going to pull out some new move, but no, it was the same old sister hit me act, complete with floods of tears. "Oh, sister, it's my fault. I was wrong. Just keep hitting me if you want," Brittany wailed dramatically. Her pitiful wails echoed through the mansion, bringing Mom back. According to the original script, Brittany would burrow into Mom's embrace, using her fragility to gain sympathy and turn Mom's wrath on me, resulting in me being sent to the desolate villa. I looked at the word embrace in the script and changed it to but. Brittany tucked her arms and legs, curled into a ball, and unexpectedly lunged to the ground, aiming directly for the hem of Mom's short, butt-hugging dress, burying her head into it like a berserk piggy bank. Oh, my eyes! I wanted to go blind. Anyone who didn't know might think a severely mentally ill patient had escaped the asylum. "Brittany, what are you doing?" Eleanor shrieked, startled. Brittany shoved so hard that Mom's dress ripped completely right at the moment Dad walked through the door. The bag of groceries in his hand fell to the ground, the sound of their fall not as loud as his stunned silence. He immediately rushed to rescue Mom, slapping Brittany twice across the face, his mouth spewing insults. "This house is cursed. Get her out of here. Send her to the desolate villa. Don't let her set foot back here without my permission," Richard roared furiously. Brittany was dragged away by security guards, still yelling about how useless her system was. Not long after, Dad organized a grand party to publicly announce my true identity. Everything was a done deal, a fait accompli. He hadn't even asked for my opinion. Right there at the party, he announced to the Carter family, the one betrothed to Ethan Carter was his own daughter, me. Ethan arrived late, but he brought Brittany with him. After hearing Brittany's tearful tales of woe, he looked at me like I was garbage, stating bluntly, "Excuse me," I thought. "Who said I wanted to marry you? You're delusional." In the original, Brittany, knowing the Carter family valued talent,
would go on stage and perform a piano piece in front of the guests to win over the groom's family. She'd choose Croatian Rhapsody, a notoriously difficult piece. Seeing this, I changed hands to tongue. As a result, Brittany slammed her head onto the piano, frantically licking the keys with her tongue like a chicken pecking at grain. The entire hall fell silent. Ethan was so shocked, his eyebrows furrowed, looking at her as if she were some kind of possessed rodent. I clapped my hands, leading the entire hall in cheering. Bravo! The world has many piano players, but only my sister can play the piano with her tongue and still keep time. Brittany immediately became a trending search, but under the category of disasters. She was so furious, she stomped her feet and banged on the wall, but the more she tried, the more she slipped. She was brutally mocked by netizens, and finally, Mom, fed up, had her admitted to a mental institution for treatment. Brittany desperately begged her system to fix the scandal. Her Chameleon System was silent for a long time, then just shrugged. I only create opportunities for green tea acts. I don't have the function to whitewash consequences, her system said. Enraged, she screamed, "You useless system! I want to unlink and cancel our contract." As for me, I immediately called off the engagement with the Carter family. A forced marriage never ends well, let alone marrying a narcissistic man and a green tea woman who plays the piano with her tongue. I wasn't desperate enough to fall for the male lead, especially one with a foot odor problem. But life, it seems, has a way of throwing curveballs. My reality rewrite system just upgraded. This time, I could edit not just words, but entire sentences. Right after that, the system flashed a warning. Warning, due to deep interference, the main storyline has become tangled like a mess of wires. From now on, all new plot developments will be written by you. No problem. As long as I have my system, I'm not afraid. Anyone who messes with me will be put on blast, no post-production needed. But that's life. You think it, and it happens. After Brittany's disgrace, Ethan Carter too lost interest and did a complete 180. But that wasn't all. He actually started secretly sending me flirty signals, deliberately, accidentally running into me, and calling me his fish sauce soulmate because he was apparently obsessed with fish sauce. Seriously? This kind of flattery just made me want to throw up. I had managed to help the protagonist avoid all the physical abuse, but the news of me being the true heir of the Thorne family still hadn't been publicly announced. That night, after dinner at my usual restaurant, as I stepped out, I suddenly felt dizzy, my legs like jelly. My system flashed a red alert. "What's happening?" I whispered. My system popped its head out, looking even more miserable than if it had been doused in fish sauce. "The storyline has changed. Brittany Bellwether escaped from the mental hospital and secretly put something in your soup," the system said, distressed. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I yelled, but the system just cut out. I just updated the content. Just then, Brittany appeared, leading a few bald, intimidating men in tank tops. Her eyes blazed with a manic glow, as if she knew I had a system too. She shouted loudly, "Every time you show up, I end up in trouble. You must have a system too, don't you? Why do you have to take everything from me? Don't you know who was here first?" And then she called me a homewrecker. Excuse me, I'm just reclaiming what's rightfully the heroine's. She signaled her thugs to rush me, intending to humiliate me and record it. I was too weak to run, but my hands were still strong enough to hit the alarm button on my smartwatch. Just then,